It was an incredible honor to be asked to open today's session. I felt that there was a lot riding on my talk, but I drew strength from the people who I'm hopefully advocating for. I realized that no matter how much I might bomb, they need me to speak for them. Whether it's articulately or inarticulately, just speak. I remember when I heard about the murder of Dwayne Jones. Dwayne was a 16-year-old trans youth who was kicked out at 14 because her parents could not deal with how she identified. She went to live with friends in an abandoned building, and at the age of 16, she decided to attend a public street dance dressed as she identified. At the dance, a female member of Dwayne's church outed her to the mob. And they turned on Dwayne, stabbed, shot, ran over Dwayne with a car, and then threw her body in the bushes and then went back to dance. Dwayne's last words were, "I am a girl. I am a girl." Now, I used to read and write about these stories from a very academic perspective because they didn't affect my life personally. They were compelling, but they certainly didn't move me to want to give up my privilege as a lawyer and a lecturer. All of that changed when I married my husband, Tom. The newspaper in Jamaica decided to make our wedding front page news under the caption, "Gay Jamaican marries man in Canada." And for most Jamaicans, I'd somehow crossed the line. I was no longer just an activist. I was now a freak like Dwayne. And the death threats were coming fast and furious. The ferocity and the intensity made me realize very quickly that I had to leave, especially when one of my students published my timetable and my address online. But why is my country so homophobic? What's the source of this antagonism towards the LGBT community? Well, there are many factors. We have a law which criminalizes any form of same-gender intimacy. And if I was to hold my husband's hand in the privacy of our bedroom, that would require me being charged with the offense of gross indecency, for which I would have to be registered as a sex offender and carry a card or pay a $1 million fine. We also have, for the first time, a charter. In 2011, our Charter of Rights actually bans the recognition of any form of same-gender relationships. And it seeks to constitutionally entrench our anti-sodomy law, which was imposed by the British in 1864. We also have a culture that's driven by fundamentalist religion. They have so poisoned the minds of Jamaicans that gays are an abomination, that parents are kicking out their kids as young as 10 years old because they are LGBTI, for fear that having the kids in the house will incur the wrath of God. These kids have been living in abandoned buildings. The buildings were torn down and the kids evicted. Some of them are now living in sewers. They're selling sex to survive. The HIV prevalence rate among these kids is off the charts. And what have we done? We have certainly not stayed silent. We have started to be visible because we realize that a lot of the hate is being driven by fear and ignorance. People need to know us. They'll understand that we are their brothers, their sisters, their pastors, their lawyers, their teachers. We've also started a fund called Dwayne's House to provide shelter for these kids who are currently living in the sewers. We have also tried to provide police training because we realize that a lot of the police are supporting the homophobia because they are a part of the culture. They think we are unapprehended criminals. So we have to get them through LGBTI sensitization training to understand our humanity. We've filed cases to challenge the anti-sodomy law in Jamaica. We've also challenged the laws of Belize and Trinidad and Tobago, which ban the entry of homosexuals. These two countries are the only ones in the Western Hemisphere which still ban gays from visiting. We are constantly being met with a backlash from the global north. These are probably some of your most famous exports. Dennis Jernigan from the ex-gay movement, Peter LaBarbera, and Pierre Tosi. These are some of the Americans who have come to Jamaica to reinforce the homophobia by participating in anti-gay conferences. And they've basically said to our politicians, to the church leaders who are incredibly powerful, gays are a threat to children, and they must not be decriminalized or given any rights. They're being listened to. Their arguments against gay rights are being heard by politicians, and they're having an impact. Thanks to their agitation, this is what we're seeing. In Jamaica, on June 29th of this year, we saw the largest anti-gay demonstration in Jamaica's history. 25,000 people marched to condemn gays. And this is being taken around the island. Every major city has seen these demonstrations. The result has been that HIV has gone down across the board, except among the men who have sex with men population. We still have the highest HIV prevalence rate in the Western Hemisphere. We've also seen the level of homophobia increase from 82% in 2012 to 91% this year. So we need you. We need you to act. We need to set aside those differences and focus on what's really important. To the churches in the global north and in the global south, there are supportive voices. We need them to be amplified. We need them to be supported, because the church is largely responsible for the hate that is being perpetrated, not only in my country, but globally. To the local leaders, to our elected officials, we need you to lead. You were not elected to deny the rights of citizens that you were elected to serve. To our allies, there's much you can do, but it starts with education. One thing I suggest is be responsible in your purchases. You may want to decide where to vacation based on the level of protections for the LGBT community in that country. If you decide not to visit a country because of that, please let the government of that country know. Send them a note. I was planning to visit your country, but I understand this is how you treat LGBTI people. I really want to come, but I'm not willing to spend money to support this environment at this time. This is just one idea. There are many things you can do, but most importantly, be a global voice. Do not remain silent. Everyone can make a contribution to the global LGBT liberation struggle, and recognize the agency of those who are in country doing the hard slugging to change the hearts and minds. Thank you.